Well, DC Fashion Week is a week long of events. We start off with our opening night. Our opening night is normally an opportunity for everyone that is interested in fashion to come to Fashion Week. It's free admission. You don't have to be a fashion industry insider. If you subscribe to our newsletter or you go to our website, tickets do go fast, but it gives the general public an opportunity to witness Fashion Week up front. One of the most popular events is our Fashion Industry Networking Party. It serves as two purposes. One purpose is to allow fashionistas to come together and network. So if you're a hairstylist or a blogger or a painter or a musician or a model or a photographer, and you're just interested in the industry, it's a great opportunity and platform for everyone to come together and meet and network and talk about future endeavors. It also gives us an opportunity for our vendors to showcase their wares prior to them actually vending at our weekend events. We have a special jewelry and accessory fashion show that kind of highlights just that, jewelry and accessories. So it's a great opportunity. I am Ian Williams. I am the executive director and founder of DC Fashion Week. Started the nonprofit, DC Fashion Week, with two other partners. We continue to work and grind with it, and 10 years later, we're still going strong in Nation's capital with DC Fashion Week.
I am Colton Barnhill from Fairmont, North Carolina. I am a farmer back home, and really hoping to get discovered and possibly make a career out of this.
My name is Patience Davis.
My name is Meng Wang.
What brings me to Fashion Week is I have a passion for fashion and modeling, so I decided to try out, and it actually landed me in DC Fashion Week, so I'm super excited.
I came to DC Fashion Week because I've always been following it. I watched it every year. This year I just thought I should try out before I'm too old for this, so that's why I'm here.
I think I'm most looking forward to just networking and really getting to know people in the industry. That's the best way to get into the industry, I've heard, so that's what I'm most excited about.
Yeah, definitely meeting all the models and designers and seeing all their amazing pieces.
A guy back home, he told me I had some potential, and we went and tried out for a show, and I did good, and from then it's been good.
Next.
Where I'm trying to go in my fashion career is the sky's the limit, wherever I can go, as far as I can go. Came all the way from Fairmont, North Carolina. That's about 6 hours.
Just for this fashion show?
Just for the fashion show, we dedicated.
Wow, that's cool.
Just for to thank Ian for the opportunity to put me in the show and letting me get out there.
I just graduated from Georgetown University. I'm just getting into the professional world, and I'm hoping to do some modeling professionally, so I decided to come audition for DC Fashion Week to get a little bit more experience. I currently hold the title of Miss District of Columbia, United States, and my pageant director forwarded some information to me about auditions, so I decided to come and try it out. Well, I'm actually relatively new to pageantry. I just started last December. So it's been a little bit of a roller coaster, but a lot of it revolves around community service, which is awesome. Specifically for me, my platform is concerned with veterans' rights, so that's what I've been doing, spending a lot of my time on.
I've been a Fashion Week model for about 10 years now out of New York, so I saw the audition and I figured I'd give it a shot. I'm one of the seasoned signature models online. and in DC.
What brings me here today is the opportunity to do a fashion show here in DC, first big one, and I hope to do good for Ian, it being the 10-year anniversary.
I'm super excited for DC Fashion Week.
Yeah, it's going to be a good one. 10-year anniversary.
Yes.
So we're really happy to be
So
here.
look forward to it and look for us.
I attended the last model call that they had and didn't really know what to expect. All I knew is that I had to wear all black and some black heels.
Here, here, and here. And just go, and this how I do here on the side here. We're not going up here. The wider, put your legs square, close together. Okay, and then go. Okay. So.
I want you all to also look at catalog pictures. That's your best source. Look at the newspaper. When you're seeing the ads for Macy's and you're seeing them at Target and you're going like, that's what I want.
DC Fashion Week began, it was birthed from out of a problem. And many of the career paths I've taken in fashion resulted in me facing a problem and trying to find a solution for it. As a designer, I realized that there wasn't a professional trade show in the nation's capital, which I found kind of shocking. I knew there were lots of other designers that were in the same boat as myself, wanting to go out and show the fashion industry what they could do. And I went to other cities that did have professional trade shows, and I saw that it was thousands of dollars of an investment, for a short 15-minute presentation. And I knew there had to be many other designers in the same boat as me. So I started the nonprofit, DC Fashion Week, with 2 other partners. We continued to work and grind with it, and 10 years later, we're still going strong in the nation's capital with DC Fashion Week.
We're trying to make designers say, hey, I want to see this girl, this guy. So in this, you're going to give us your pretty face. You're going to pose. I'm not saying everybody has to do this, but give me a pose. Okay, good. And you're going to do full body. You can give a model stance like this. Bring it in so you can show your curves. Give yourself curves.
During the shows, usually only if you need it. So, like you probably won't. They might put powder, like a little bit, but you'll be alright. You don't have to bring no makeup.
I have a great team. I have a great team from my stage manager, my associate producer, my personal assistants, my stylists, my photographers, my DJ, music director. And we're all one big happy family. And, of course, they deal with my emotional highs and craziness. And we have just a lot of moments where there may just be some perfect, natural comedic timing where we all just burst out in laughter.
Give yourself curves and take your picture that way. Take it against a clean backdrop. Everyone understand what clean is? Don't need to see hookah things in the background.
Why do you always bring up the hookah?
Because I will never forget the person that sent me their picture with the hookah thing in the background. And then I went to New York and I was holding somebody's hookah. They took my picture and said, oh, you doing hookah? I was like, no, I was holding it for someone. I was serious. But
what is it about Fashion Week that I want people to know? Well, first, we're a nonprofit. And what that means is, we're not out to, millions and millions of dollars. We're actually here to help people in the fashion industry. And trust me, a lot of people need help. Sometimes it's the delusion that some people have. They see something in their mind, and what they are seeing and thinking isn't what's actually being presented. And sometimes when you see that disconnect, that's kind of humorous. It's kind of cruel too, but it's that part's a little humorous. It's challenging because in this industry, a lot is based on the image as opposed to what's in your, in your brain. If you're a lawyer, you're well known for your creative thinking, your thought process, your legal mind, your execution, your education. As a model, you're based on your personality and your look. We actually have to reject a lot of people that come to Fashion Week. We look anywhere between 500 to 800 applications every Fashion Week, and we invite out maybe between 150 to 200, that we know that we're going to pretty much interested in seeing and possibly using. And then when the final fashion week comes about, we're somewhere between 75 to 100 models. So it's 1 in 8, 1 in 10 that, come out, and we actually end up working with them. So it's a lot of disappointed people, but we tell them to come back, because as you see with other platforms, you may miss something the first time, come back the second time, you get in, maybe the third time. Third time's a charm. So it's that keep pursuing your dream, don't give up. So we also always want to offer encouragement.
It's crazy how much preparation goes into less than 30 seconds on a runway. So I showed up and we walked the runway a couple of times, and during that process, different designers would handpick which models they wanted in their shows. And by the end of the day, they called numbers of models that they wanted to keep for DC Fashion Week.
The only two short girls that I've looked at, you're shorter. My preference are girls that are 5'10" or taller. Of course, everybody's not 5'10", but I do like you all. So right now it's a matter of fit.
There are models that we have. Sometimes there's a model that doesn't necessarily have a great walk, but she has the perfect body, she has a great face, and we know if she trips on the runway, the photographer will still take her picture and feature her. So that's a challenge when we have other models that may not have such a strong look, but may be graceful on the runway as well. Then we have to make a choice. Do you want the model that can barely walk a straight line, but is breathtaking, and we know that those images are going to be everywhere, versus a model who has a strong runway presence but may not be photographed as much? So that's a challenge. It's a creative decision. What meets the best interest of DC Fashion Week, and what is going to do the designer more justice? And we're often conflicted with that.
I'm still going to keep you on my list for now, and then when I do the fitting on the 7th, to keep in mind with your sizes. So I have your model stat sheet. I need both your model stat sheets.
Who doesn't have a model stat sheet?
It was always a good feeling during DC Fashion Week hearing your number called by a designer, because they look through all of these models and watch our walk, and hearing that this designer specifically wants to use you to market their clothing, that's such an honor. And that was always just a really great feeling.
Write down everything that's supposed to be on one, please, including your number. Alrighty. Anybody else? Right. Everybody else gave me their stat sheet?
I need to get number, I'm going to put in the, I took some of the other ones along, just going to have a swap. The one that has on the...
Is she here now?
The one that had on the fuchsia, I want to put her in the other dress instead.
It was 2 fuchsias.
I'm also the creative director for 2 clothing lines. One is Closure International, which is my men's and women's wear collection, and then also launched recently Magnum underwear collection.
Okay.
The skirt or the dress?
The dress.
Okay, then.
Okay, but I still have to shoot her English. I rushed her. I need more pictures of her. So I need those 2 to stay.
DC Fashion Week is meant to expose local models to what it's like to be in a fashion week and walk in these larger production shows. It's meant to be, in some ways, a training for some of these models to help them gain experience and feel more comfortable with their walk and feel more comfortable on a runway in front of a large audience.
So this is my first catwalk show, so I'm definitely looking to develop the walking and posing skills so that I'm more well-rounded as a model.
Well, I can really sympathize with, of course, creative and talented people. We are judged differently. And each time we do an event, you're only as good as your last event. So the pressure to come up with a new collection, to be innovative, to be on trend, to make it reasonably, affordable, to appeal to the masses if that's your demographic, or to continue to create one-of-a-kind creations for special clients if that's your client base. It's a huge challenge. There's a lot of pressure. Our opening night was at the National Archives, and that was kind of like a dream come true for my family. Many of my relatives marched on Washington with Martin Luther King. I have an aunt that's actually a politician, so to see me as a designer showcased in the National Archives, where on display is the Constitution, their proclamation. It was just an overwhelming experience to know that our ancestors fought so hard for freedom, and to experience this as a designer to showcase in the National Archives. That was like a real dream come true. It made my grandmother and my aunts and uncles very, very proud that they were able to see this in their lifetime. But in the end, it's always worth it in the end. The round of applause, the positive reviews, the emotional high that you get when you see your dream come to fruition, it's really a wonderful experience. So, emotional highs, yes. Emotional lows, yes. Crazy, yes. All of those things, but it's one of the best jobs in the world to have.
I feel that my first show has been a success. I feel like everybody did very good. We have a lot of good models here, and hopefully Eden was pleased with the selection he made. After the show, I feel like I'm ready for the next one to be right now. I can keep on going. It's just addictive. It's fun to be a part of it.
The nation's capital, but I think it's just one of the greatest cities to live in. I've never been any place in the world where almost anything that you can think of doing, you can do here in the nation's capital. If you are a sports enthusiast, we have professional teams here around the Beltway. You have Baltimore, you have Washington Redskins, of course, yay. You have hockey, you have baseball, you have boxing. You can go skiing here in the surrounding areas. You can go to historic museums, art galleries. Of course, the nightlife is amazing. You can get a great education here. We have prestigious schools. If you want to get into politics, of course, there's no better place to be than the most powerful city. If you want to shop, all of the major retailers are here. Most major fashion labels also have retail presence here. It's just a dream city. It's great. I don't want to live anywhere else other than the nation's capital.
If I were to describe DC in one word, it would be diverse. Because this is, in a lot of ways, the center of the country and the world, we attract people from all over the world to come to this city. It's like a melting pot of not only different ethnicities, but nationalities, people coming internationally to this city. So I think in that way, DC is very unique. I was actually born in DC and moved away when my parents were restationed to another Army base, and I came back to attend Georgetown University. And after graduating, I've stayed here in DC.
DC is mostly known for tourism and politics. And that is what we do. We do that better than, most cities around the world. But after we've done our main 9 to 5, we have a very vibrant nightlife and a great social life. And many of these events that people attend, whether it be something at the Kennedy Center, or White House dinner, an embassy gala, a party, or they just simply want to look nice. That's where fashion comes to play. From the very beginning, I recognized the international diversity that our nation's capital offers. And I wanted that to be reflected in Fashion Week. We know there's more than one look. We know there are many types of beauty. And with us being home to so many different embassies, we want to showcase designer talent from all around the world. And that is what we were interested in doing. Because we take the local talent, we pair them with national and international talent, and because of the different resources and networking, we're able to share with that.
First up is Prestige Concepts. Let's give it up for Prestige Concepts, ladies and gentlemen.
This is my first fashion week.
Okay. Okay, yeah, it's mine first, obviously. So.
DC this year, New York next year.
Oh, look at you. This was my first real experience with runway outside of much more low-key runway shows. General mood backstage with the models was very serious because you had to move very quickly and there wasn't really time to joke or make fun. So on Friday night, we had a very tight backstage area and there were models that were walking for 3 or 4 designers, one after another. So you would have to, be calm and collected on the runway and come off. And as soon as you come backstage, there are people back there, ripping clothes off of you, dressing you, putting your next outfit on. You don't even know who's putting your clothes on because it's dark. That was really crazy. And there was a little bit of that at every show, people rushing to get changed into their next look. But I think that's pretty normal for runway shows. But I don't have a ton of experience, so I'm not the best person to gauge that.
This season, as usual, we select approximately 100 models, and they come from all over. Washington, D.C., these are your 2014 D.C. Fashion Week models.
Our finale is our International Couture Collection shows, which allows designers from all over to showcase their collection, as well as DC. And we think that's great. Unlike some other cities where all the events are held in one main arena, we like to showcase the beauty of DC. So each day is held at a different venue that kind of reflects DC history and gives people who are coming to DC for Fashion Week the opportunity to really experience what Washington, DC is about in the public.
On Sunday, we had the finale, the International Couture, and that was at the Washington Historical Society building. And it was so pretty. It was such a nice venue for a runway show. And a lot of the international designers were there that night. So some very beautiful fabrics and colors. And everyone was in the show. So it was fun meeting all of these people from the district and also from outside of the DMV that came in. There were people that came all the way from North Carolina, I believe, to model.
Trying to find the next great big talent, even just out of DC or around the country, that's a challenge. But fortunately, we try to put on the best show that we can. And that allows the word to get out about this platform, and it attracts interest, new designers each season. We're not in charge of a design aesthetic because each person has different tastes.
So you said you're a singer. What type of singer are you?
Things Fiona Apple, Birdie, very acoustic, very
cool.
like
That's so cool. I would love to hear some of your stuff. That's awesome. That's awesome.
Sometimes the aesthetic, we can look at it and we may not fully get it. And there are other people in the industry that look at it and they hail it as something great. But we can still recognize that there's a designer talent in there. And we're allowing them this platform to see what the response may be.
I think being here at the Historical Society gives you an overview of what DC brings to the culture of modeling.
It's still a challenge trying to get the word out. There are people that have been here in the city the whole entire time, and we always hear, we never knew DC had a fashion week. And we find that strange when we've been featured on the front page of the newspaper. We're on every major radio station making announcements. We're on every news broadcast, and yet people still live here in our backyard and say they haven't heard about Fashion Week. So how do we get the word out to them about them? So that's a challenge, to still get the word out about that there is a Fashion Week, there's an opportunity for models and stylists and designers and people who just love fashion to see it up front and personal, versus having to travel around the world to see it.
I have two friends here with me today in the fashion show, Carlton Rouse and Alexander Saunders, and we traveled up here together and hope to do good.
Are you guys the ones that were like, you like drove like 6 hours or something absurd like that to get here?
That's us.
You guys I know, for real. So do you want to be like a full-time professional model? Is that like
Trying to make it there, trying to get ourselves out there, love to travel, love to meet new people. Anybody gives us an opportunity, we're there, and that's how we roll.
That's so cool that you're like all doing it together.
That's how we do it.
Romance.
Where in North Carolina are you from?
Close to the Fayetteville, Wilmington area, so South North Carolina at the bottom. And
Yeah.
We're gonna be here for the week.
Okay.
Of course.
Cool.
It's a great opportunity to be able to be a part of something this big, and we try to stay busy.
How do you feel about being like a creative-minded, fashion-minded person living in DC? Like, do you feel like that's almost like harder for you to develop your career, or do you feel like it sets you apart?
DC is very underlooked.
Yeah.
It's very underlooked, and I mean, I do want to leave DC since I'm prepared to go get some experience, but my goal is to come back in DC and establish, bring that back to DC, let it be known, let us be a capital, fashion capital. And I really feel like these events are helping out too. We need to keep doing these fashion weeks.
DC Fashion Week has allowed designers to leave DC and showcase in other great countries. Myself as a designer, I've been to Ukraine, I've been to Belgrade, I've been to Istanbul, and all of those were direct results of networking at DC Fashion Week and expanding my brand. So it's a great opportunity.
Once again, we want to thank each and every one of you for coming out and celebrating this monumental occasion with us. For those of you who got here late, I said it earlier, and by far I have to say it again, we are very proud and very happy today because once again we're celebrating 10 years of DC Fashion Week being in existence. That just makes me feel good. It should make you feel good as well. So many folks say Miami, LA, New York. Well, we beg to differ, ladies and gentlemen. DC has fashion as well.
And we're going to walk you off. We're going to put you on the runway. And for the first time, I'm meeting her sister from Persia. This is Adari. Other than myself, she's been the most featured designer at DC Fashion Week over our past 10 years. We're going to take you around. We're going to make sure everyone sees you.
There are so many success stories with DC Fashion Week. We have a great alumni of models, stylists, photographers, hairstylists. There have been so many great success stories. We've had many of our Glam Squad members go on to win prestigious awards. We've had several models get launched on major platforms such as Project Runway, or we've had several alumni be featured on America's Next Top Model. We've had several models join top agencies. They credit their experience and exposure with DC Fashion Week. Many of our designers have gone on to be featured in prestigious publications. We had a record 4 designers be featured in British Vogue season before last. We had others, and that's just what's unheard of. That's a dream come true to be part of the fashion industry's prominent fashion publication, and that came out of a direct relationship with DC Fashion Week. So we have great success stories for models and designers and stylists and writers, and the list goes on. And many of the stories we don't even hear about until like later. I'll have a model call me up and say, I just want to thank you for this opportunity. You gave me this little anecdote of knowledge, and I went somewhere else and I end up being a spokesmodel for this particular brand. Or a young 15-year-old model was featured on the International Designers website in Russia, and part of her experience with that, she ended up getting a scholarship. So it's just been great stories from all the different relationships that come about in networking and Fashion Week, and that's what it was about. We are helping young models achieve their dreams. We're helping young designers launch their businesses. We're doing great revenue in terms of hospitality and tourism and sightseeing in DC. And many people come to the nation's capital for Fashion Week. It's a growing business, and we hope to see it continue to grow. We're 10 years young. We want to be the Olympics of Fashion Weeks, with every country sending some of their best designer talent to introduce them to the American public and to the world.
I definitely think that there is a connection between pageantry and modeling. This same type of stage presence and performance, although they're kind of different flavors of performance. In pageantry, it's very smiley and happy and very showy, whereas in modeling, the emphasis should be more so on the clothes you're wearing. So you kind of need to wear that attitude, which often is a more serious attitude. But as far as being comfortable with yourself on a stage and on a runway, I would say that they're very much the same. So I entered the Miss DC United States 2014 pageant last May, and I was fortunate enough to win. So since then, I've been doing a lot of charity work for the organization and through the organization, and specifically targeting Veterans Affairs nonprofits. I entered my first pageant last December of 2013, and it was really on a whim. It was something I kind of always wanted to try, but never took the jump, and I finally tried it and I really enjoyed it. Pageantry is about empowerment of women and confidence building and creating lasting friendships, and I can absolutely say that competing in pageants has made me a better person all around.
While we're getting ready for fashion, some of the designers you're going to see have flown in from across the country. We have a lot of unique styles, a lot of unique designs, and you're going to get a chance to see that in just a second. Another thing that we want to remind you about, if you're going to be on social media tonight, please make sure you use the hashtag DC Fashion Week. We want to make sure we let the world know that DC has taken fashion by storm. A little birdie whispered in my ear, by the way, that tonight is not only the culmination of DC Fashion Week, ladies and gentlemen, but tonight is a major celebration for DC Fashion Week in general. That's because, ladies and gentlemen, we're celebrating 10 years of DC Fashion Week being in existence. I think the founder, Mr. Ian Williams, deserves a round of applause for that. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you Couture International Collection.
I'm also the creative director for 2 clothing lines. One is Couture International, which is my men's and women's wear collection, and then also launched recently Magnum underwear collection. I jumped into the fashion industry as a model. I first started freelancing, and then I was discovered by a New York producer. I started doing work as a professional model right out of high school. Went into the military, went overseas. Still very passionate about modeling and the fashion industry. And so in Italy, I looked exotic for an African American, so I got work there. And then when I came back to the States, I was just ready to hit the ground running. I was one of the first African American male models in DC to be signed by all the agencies at the same time. And it was a great journey. I also really like behind the scenes production of events, and I got involved in producing fashion shows. And I really wanted to groom designers because I saw that DC had a lot of talented designers, but they didn't know where to go to for the next step, and neither did I. So it was a learning process for us both.
As you all know, my collection's name is Corsair International. I have 3 sons, Corey, Jordan, and Ryan. This is my middle baby, Master Barber, so he'll hook you up. Jordan, he's just turning legal, but he's enjoying the cocktails, so.
Our patrons, we have a great audience that comes out to Fashion Week. Many of them believe they should be on the runway, but they should not. But it's always great and fun to just, meet them, and they tell us their stories.
Tori from DC Entertainment Mix.
Oliver from France. Paris.
Laura, DC Entertainment Mix.
Jeff Moore, Portland, Oregon.
Fairfax Public Access.
And our director of photography for DC Fashion Week is
There are a lot of successful people that are in DC, and they also love fashion. So during their 9 to 5, they're going to wear the work uniform, which may be considered quite conservative because their mind is on doing the business of politics or, running our country. And then outside of that, when they are, going to dinner or have a night out in the town or they're celebrating and they're showing their own personal style, it's completely different than work. And that's where you see the fashion part at. And it's great. It is really great, and we're happy to be a part of that. We also offer opportunities for people to network and meet other people.
Half of the battle in this industry is networking.
I'm looking to record an EP within the next 4 months. That's my goal. But yeah, I model as well. I model in DC Fashion Week as well. So I do, and I act. I do everything.
I've been very happy to know that during one of our networking events, several entrepreneurs met there. They got together. They opened up DC's first designer showroom, which was Decker House. With the success of that showroom, they relocated to Miami, and they're still thriving in that area. There have been a number of consignment shops that have given exposure to many of the DC Fashion Week designers for that. Whether you're a talent scout person, PR, a stylist, we have some of our signature events where it may be a designer showcasing their collection by themselves, or there'll be group shows. Of course, there's strength in group shows. We also offer the opportunity for next-gen designers to be featured. And what that means is we take college students who are in a fashion program, they come together with one distinctive look, and they showcase it in Fashion Week. So of course, that saves them on cost. They don't have to develop a whole full collection, and it's a great platform. It gives them just an opportunity to put their toe in the pool of fashion. Well, first, of course, with any business and, surviving a recession is, of course, just cost and, sponsors. Whether there's a great amount of sponsors or no sponsors at all, DC Fashion Week still has to go forward. I think it would be very difficult for a designer or anyone to come to Fashion Week and not feel that it's worth the investment. We have the lowest designer registration fee of any major fashion week. Our designers are featured in prestigious publications, some of the most prestigious in the industry. They're getting an allotment of models, they're getting hair and makeup, a music director, dressers, a presentation, online marketing to over 500,000 people that are supporting direct support of DC Fashion Week, to getting professional runway images to use for their websites, their lookbooks. They're being covered by a number of journalists and bloggers, magazines, radio, television. They're getting several million media impressions, and you just cannot get that for the price that they put to be a part of Fashion Week. We dare them find any other platform that can accomplish as much for so little. DC Fashion Week definitely gives designers lots of opportunities. One of our media partners for Her Life magazine. I'm very excited about this because actress CeCe Carmen is wearing Kosher International Original, which is one of my gowns. So that's pretty exciting. And let's see, there's another picture in here. You see a full picture of right there. So we're great about that. So we are dressing some of DC's most fashionable people that are on both local, national, and international scene. Of course, here's our nation's newspaper, the Washington Post. DC Fashion Week was featured in the front page of the style section, so there's a great opportunity. Many of our models were also featured here on the inside page, so they were so excited to have that happen. We also have a number of designers that were featured, and of course, some people like to refer to it as the Fashion Bible, Vogue. You see here's Kosher International, which is my label, and then we have some other designers from DC that are also featured in here. Actually, they're in this issue. We did more than one. Here's another issue of Vogue, and we have some of our DC-based designers in here as well. There are many, I don't know if you can see those or not, but this is just fantastic. To see DC fashion designers being recognized on the local with the Washington Post to international with, Vogue. Here's a picture of one of my designs at the National Archives, which is great. And I actually just had another high-profile celebrity contact me about this specific gown.
The Magnum Underwear Collection. You heard it? Or size matter? Make sure you get you a Magnum man.
The funniest part of this show would be probably watching everybody trying to get dressed quick enough to get back out there and go in front of everybody.
We had a model come in, they were sisters, it was so funny. They were sisters coming in, they were twins, they were beautiful. They came in, they wanted to get a taste of America. They modeled, they both met successful, rich boyfriends. They were like, mission accomplished. So you never know what people are gonna get out of Fashion Week. So it's funny. We deserve our own reality TV show because there are quite some characters.
Some of the makeup artists that I worked with that did my makeup were pretty funny. There was one in particular, she was cracking me up in her makeup chair.
Taking a long nap and waking up and trying to audition for New York Fashion Week so I could be a part of that in February.
I would love to walk in New York Fashion Week.
I have thought about doing New York Fashion Week, and I will be putting my application in shortly to hopefully be able to go audition for it.
We've been compared to the other fashion weeks, and many of the designers have done the other fashion weeks. And it's a huge compliment when they tell us that this has been a better experience for them. And it wouldn't be possible without the hard work of the models and the team. The other major fashion weeks have been around for a pretty long time. We're well known in most fashion arenas. We have designers that come over globally from all over. The difference is we're a nonprofit. So with nonprofit, cost is a major factor. We offer the lowest rates for designers to exhibit because we are grouping designers together for a showcase. We're more accessible to the public, but we're able to compete on the big stage. We're often compared to them a lot, which is great to be in the same sentence of being compared to the other fashion weeks. But in terms of designers and model talent and behind the scenes, you know, we're very competitive. Many of the designers that are stars in our platform go on to these other platforms and are accepted readily, and they go from Fashion Week to Fashion Week. So we know we must be on the right track if the bigger companies can still see the value in what some of the talent that comes out of DC.
DC Fashion Week can't really be compared to other fashion weeks in the fact that it allows local designers as well as international designers to exhibit their work in DC.
Right now, everyone is consumed with fame and being a celebrity or meeting a celebrity, and that's what we've tried to skim back a little bit. One, we can't afford to have major celebrities all the time be the main focus of Fashion Week. The main focus should be about the designers' aesthetic, their clothing, their product offerings. That's what it's about. It's about showing what's next in fashion, and that's where the focus should be. Would we love to have Kim Kardashian sitting on the front row? Of course we would. We would love to have Madonna, you know, waving in the audience, or Anna Wintour. Of course we would love to do that. But we don't want to put the financial resources to put those people on the front row, where instead it can go into helping a young designer get investors for their next collection so that they can do a launch in a major department store. We think that is where the focus should be. So we're doing things a little bit differently, but we have a seat reserved for Kim if she wants to come. But that is what our focus is. And as a nonprofit, we really want to put all of our resources, every single dime goes into putting on Fashion Week and helping these designers fulfill their dreams, for helping the models get great looks from the runway so they can go to a major fashion market.
I heard about DC Fashion Week through my pageant director, actually, for Miss DC United States. And I happened to see the post and I went to the model open call. The saddest moment of DC Fashion Week was probably realizing that it really is a cutthroat kind of environment. As everyone wants to have as many looks as they can get. I saw it a couple of times. There would be girls that had previously been selected by designers, and then girls would step in that hadn't been selected and kind of just shove their way into getting an additional look that they weren't picked for, and then that girl, you know, loses one of her looks, and that's, you know, people getting mad at each other for stuff like that. So it is unfortunate to see, but I do understand it because it's a competitive industry and you need to take what you can get.
Creative people can actually be quite difficult to work with. And we understand that there's a lot of pressure. A lot of the pressure is put on by yourself, but it's also felt by your peers because you all are all introducing your collections during a short period of time. And the whole fashion industry is focused on what's the next big hot thing that's going on. Trying to pull your vision together with the team. And each person on the team has their own vision for what they want to accomplish. Whether it be a model who wants to break out and be the face of your collection or just want to be the face of the event. Everyone has a part in the great big picture, and there's a lot of pressure and stress on trying to do it bigger and better and different. They see what it takes to be a part of Fashion Week and they complete that cycle. They go back and look and see what can they do better, how can they go to the next level, and they go back and they work on their craft. And because we always have stars of each Fashion Week, and maybe one particular designer or fashion house may get a little bit more coverage or be more well received than someone else, and they go back and they reevaluate what they're doing, which is a learning process, and we're happy to help them, you know, develop and grow. This last Fashion Week, we had a designer that didn't finish many of their garments. We didn't do a final inspection because generally designers submit their work to us. We see that they are, you know, they meet our minimum requirement. Hopefully they surpass our minimum requirement, but they at least meet our minimum requirement. And then the day of, we want to be surprised like everyone else. And sometimes they don't live up to what we expected. And then we'll do a post interview and we'll tell them that if this is something that you want to repeat for the next fashion week, we don't think that's going to be a good fit. This is what we would recommend. And we show it not just with our opinion, we show them what the press has indicated that they see as well. And that's helpful. That helps you go in the right direction. The only reason there will be a designer that we wouldn't want to come back would be because of just their personality and attitude, because we want people to respect the other designers and the models and the teams. I have a great rejection story for myself, and I share it with many of the models and people along the way. When I first came to DC and I wanted to join one of the agencies, I didn't know about the industry. So I went to a model casting with a family album with regular photos, because I'd heard that you didn't need professional photos, but they were speaking in the sense of just taking a plain Polaroid. I took family pictures of me and put them in a photo album and went to the agency. And this agency director ripped me apart. And I don't have a valid bone in my body, but when I left that casting call, I literally wanted to bomb the building. I really wanted to set it on fire. I had never felt such rage in my life, and it was through rejection, but I did listen to what she said, and she said, you don't look like a model, you're not dressed like a model, you're pictured on the models, we don't have clients that can, use you. And I tried out for this agency 4 times, and it was the 4th time that I actually got accepted. And on the 4th time, I went with a friend and as support. I really didn't want to audition again. I was already signed to other agencies. I didn't think I was going to get in. I was going for emotional support, and I actually ended up getting signed. So, it's true. If you first don't succeed, keep trying again, and learn from the experience. And one season your look may be in, the next season may not be in. So you have to know that also can be the case. We're not the harsh critiques and tell people you don't have it or anything like that. I think you should always encourage. This may not be the right platform for you. However, chase your dream, work on your craft, and there's a place in this industry for you. There are so many great stories from models who had low self-esteem, and after completing Fashion Week, they just feel better about themselves and what they've accomplished, and they go on to do something totally different, not even in the film, not even in the realm of fashion, but that confidence and that character building that they faced during the stress of doing the Fashion Week still had them go on to do greater things. We've had models go on to become pageant winners.
There are several of the models that I became friends with during DC Fashion Week that I will definitely stay in contact with. DC Fashion Week was a lot of fun, a lot of work, and extremely educational, and if I get the opportunity, I would love to come back next year and walk in DC Fashion Week for sure.